Let's go. Officials breakout. I don't know, that's about 8 or 9 or 10 things. I did want to just tie back real briefly to the accommodations. This is a big deal, and I want to make sure you're not creating a big deal. But we really want and expect, and CHSSA expects there to be an accommodation letter for disabilities. Okay? Okay. So, before you start granting accommodations, your first question is, do you have a letter? Okay? And the bulletin now gives us the flexibility to deal with the on-the-spot modifications for that meet only, which is great. And so, as a referee, you're not required to provide an on-the-spot modification in the case that if you're not sure this is for a medical disability and you think it's going to give it an advantage or something, you absolutely should not give a on-the-spot modification. But by and large, these things are all treating very common disabilities like diabetes or whatever. So that's the most common one. So in the case of that, if you've seen it, you're comfortable, and you can consult with an on-site medical professional before you make the call if you'd like, if you're not comfortable. But at the end of the day, if you are comfortable and it makes sense, go ahead and provide that on the spot, and then make sure the coach is aware that this is for that meet only, and they really need to get that accommodation letter from CHSSA for future competitions. You know, if this is a prelims finals meet, that modification's for the whole meet. Questions? Did I beat the dead horse enough? Okay. Code of ethics. It's in your book. It's going to be in your handbook when you get your handbook. This is important. We're serious about this like a heart attack, so we definitely want you to take the time to read through those. I won't read through them because I talk enough. But this is how we're expected to behave, how we're expected to react. All of this is... Yours looks better than mine. Good. Okay. So I want you to be familiar with those. So read them every year. If you need to read them halfway through the year, do it, please. So participant and spectator conduct. I was serious with the coaches. I thought things went really well last season, and these are the rules and the definition of the types of things. It's not all inclusive, but the types of things that are unsporting or unacceptable. Okay. So the electronic devices, if they're using an electronic device, that's going to be unsporting conduct, and the penalty that goes with it, which is wiping them out. Everything they've done, everything they were going to do, is done. Excessive unsporting conduct. This is not something that we deal with very often at all. To my knowledge, there was one time last year that it did have to get dealt with, so I just thought I would touch on it. So the rules are a little different, whether it's a competitor or coach. You can find this in your handbook. So if it's a competitor, you notify the competitor that they're being ejected, notify the coach the reason, and let them know what are their options for replacing swimmers if they're pulling out of relays or whatever. No, this is for competitors right now. These are the competitor rules. So the participants, if they're doing anything here, if it's a spectator rather, they're doing anything here, you're going to OLay that directly to the meet administrator, and if they're going to be ejected, they'll take care of it. Okay. So back to competitors that are being ejected. You need to notify the table of what's happening and make sure they're aware that all of the races that they're in are going to be, that they're done. Notify CHSSA as soon as possible, but by 8 a.m. the following day of what happened. And notify the school's AD the following day if possible as well. So this shouldn't be a secret. This is serious, and you're not going to eject somebody unless it's a serious matter. It's a coach. Notify the coach, and they have to immediately leave the venue. So you identify, do they have an assistant coach, or who's going to take care of the team? What do you think happens if they don't have an assistant coach? Yeah, they're done. That's it. So forfeit. And then notify CHSSA again by 8 a.m. the following day. It's really up to CHSSA to determine what the corrective action is. That's not your job. Okay. So I hope no one has to do this, but
let's say you're halfway through the meet. The meet has, a progressive score. Let's say at 100 fly, you eject the coach. The meet's at that point forfeited. What's your score?
12-0. All right. Let's see. Take your marks. Come on. Should always have been take your marks. I know. No. It's just. I'm sure there's great reasons for it, but ultimately this shouldn't change anything. But I do expect everyone to get used to saying take your marks. Okay. There's a lot of rules relative to the starter and their roles, and I just have highlighted them on this. I want to make sure if you're a starter, you're very familiar with these parts of the book, since they're only hidden in 4 places. I want you to make sure you're aware of what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to do it. So get familiar with the rules. When you're the starter, you happen to be the pacemaker for the meet. Question is, what pace should you go? You ask the coaches. What kind of meet are we running today? Is this first week of December and you got 2 small teams in a 6-lane pool? They're not going to want a really fast meet. And that's okay. You're going to want to be out of there within 3 hours. But you're not. Your goal is to not get out of there in 45 minutes either. That's just not right for the kids. So have that figured out before the start of the meet. What's the pace we should be running? Are we doing flyovers? Are we not going to do flyovers? Oftentimes early in the season, people will say, I don't want to do flyovers because I want to take the extra rest. That's perfectly fine requests. As the season goes on, more and more people say, well, I still want to do flyovers, but I want them kind of relaxed flyovers. Okay. And then near the end of the season, you may be getting we need to get on with it and get out of here. And so then you're doing flyovers, and it's a fairly quick protocol. The big meets, that's very common to go very fast. So set the pace. Set the right pace for the meet. Okay? I will say, I don't care who wants to get home fast. Don't rush them when they're on the blocks. You may rush them to get to the blocks and get up, but don't rush them at that point. Let them get set. You know, we've all seen the people that have to deal with their cap 12 times and their goggles need all kinds of pats and stuff, and let's give them a little break here. I mean, at some point you're going to have to say, take your marks. See, I can be trained.
No, I've had some feedback from coaches that get the impression from officials when we walk in that our goal is to get out of there in 45 minutes. So when we arrive at the venue, let's be very conscientious of that we are there for the swimmers, the athletes, and I mean, we like to run an efficient meet, but they should never feel like one of the criticisms I got last year is that we don't let the swimmers know what they did. We disqualify them. Especially at the beginning of the season, I think we need to take the time and really be diligent about being open and transparent to what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We should be letting either the coach or the competitor know what's the disqualification. How do they know? Well, coach often knows because they saw it too, but we want to make sure that's done absolutely. When you're speaking into a mic, don't do what I've been doing to you all morning, which is speaking too fast. Okay? So, you don't have a lot of words to say, and that's by design. Don't necessarily say them fast. We'd like for you to enunciate, and it matters whether the mic is here or here. Same thing with the starter. If you've got the mic here, it's going to pick up more of your cool voice than so. I always like to make the point that stationary is really not motionless. So especially early in the season, you'll see them go down and they're kind of moving around because they learn to do that in summer club. That's how they learn to start. And some of them are so afraid to be up there. I don't know if they could get motionless if you asked them or you begged them to. So, you know, and so a big reason if they're just kind of moving around a little bit, I'm not too worried. If when I choose to fire the gun, if they're going forward, that's definitely a disqualification for a false start. But you'll see even the little twitchers, they twitch back before I have given them the starting signal. I'm probably not going to call it. So, and everything's the same as it has been, with the exception of the take your marks. And another reminder that we're not using the whistles, the whistle commands. We're using obviously the whistle with our step up. It's part of our verbal preparatory command.
Has there ever been given any thought on the backstroke start, on the place your feet command, to eliminate that? I only ask that because obviously, you know, USA Swimming, they don't say place your feet. On most summer clubs, I can't speak for all, but don't have that command. Olympics, you know, obviously that's, you know, master swimming. No, that's what I'm asking. Has that ever been discussed in consideration? No? Yeah. It just, I always see, you know, most of the swimmers on that place your feet, they start to go up, and then they're like, oh, no, I'm going to go back down. You know what I mean? It throws them up.
The National Federation has two sections in the back for starts, the verbal and the whistle. We use the verbal. So even though we blew the whistle and everybody stepped up, we still say, step up. For the backstroke, we blow the whistle. We don't use two whistles like the whistle preparatory commands, where the first whistle is to step in, the second whistle is to place your feet. We ask you step in, we blow the whistle, we say, place your feet. They may or may not have placed their feet already, but in the verbal commands, we say that same thing for the forward start. They're all ready to go, and we say, step up, or they're already up on the blocks, and we say, step up.
Yeah, they shouldn't be getting up before you invite them. Yeah. But yeah, the whistle preparatory commands are not what we're going to use. You know, I mean, one year the swim committee may decide, oh, I want to use that. Because I don't care which one we use, but as a state, we're all on the verbal preparatory commands. Dual confirmation. So that is still, that was new this past season, and so I would just left it in here just to highlight it again. So at championship meets, we need to have written confirmation from 2 officials for all starts. So how you do that's the rub, but we're trying to make sure that we're as transparent as possible when we're making that call, and it really should be 2 independent people saying, okay, lane 6 was early. And so at a big meet, what I've been asking is for them to flash the lane number, and I will have already written down my number. If it matches, we call it. If it doesn't, we don't. But then if you're on the other side for me, it needs to be in writing, so I need to follow that up and make sure that's in your program. So, I mean, that process seems to work pretty well. I just share it with you. You're certainly entitled to go walk around and compare our heat sheets, and that'd be great. The new rule is just for championship meets. I think using that for initial starts is a good practice, and so I think that's something that's not required, but I think it's really good practice and should be done. Deck positioning. So this is all on you if you're the referee. So this shouldn't be an accident where people are going and what people are doing. I know you, and sometimes you work with the same people quite a few times. I want you to do this anyway. In your officials pre-meeting, I want you to go through and talk about deck position. Where is everyone going to stand? Where's everyone going to move? What is their jurisdiction for this? So it's a 6-lane pool. Am I going to have 1 through 3 and half the pool? I don't want it to be an accident. I would like the words to be said so that everyone knows where, what, how to move, who's going to cover the 15-meter marks. And for you new officials, make sure they know that if they're on a 15-meter mark, it's really for the first dive only. From that point forward, they'll have to do the best they can because their priority won't be 15-meter mark. It's going to be to get the turns and strokes judged and subsequent links. So I forget to tell them that a lot. I see them coming back and forth on everything. Like, they're getting good steps, but that's too mean. I'm not that mean. DQs and how we are important. What are we going to do? How are we going to communicate it? So, I mean, clearly the book tells us to put our hand up immediately, but you got to communicate that down to the referee, and so depending on the meet, they just may need to know the lane number, or they may need to know, they may need to meet with you to find out what was the call and what happened, so that we get the proper penalty applied. One thing I will tell you that I've started doing, and it works, I think it works really well. If there's a bigger problem, like, Bill, stop, we need to talk, show me your lane card with the number 0 on it. That's like, okay, this is serious. And when would you do that? Okay, this could be a suit violation or some kind of conduct of any kind. Those are the ones that the referee needs to get on top of yesterday. So don't wait till the end of the meet. Sort it right then.
Just that positioning question, you're at the start end and you're at annual high school Eagle West 6-lane pool with very narrow bulkheads. It's almost next to impossible to kind of walk around. Can we make an exception?
Yeah, so the question was, if we're at a pool that has a small bulkhead or virtually very little space behind, Denver East is a good example of that if you go to the Angels. You know, if you can't go there, and this is the reason for the referee to be having this meeting, so that you don't have people doing things you don't expect or want them to do. And so I think as a referee, we're making a decision on what's the safest and best way to handle your deck positioning. You roll that out and you go with it. So I give you credit for making a good decision. You know, ideally there are calls that you can much better do over the top, and that's why we try to encourage people to get behind the blocks. But it's not always possible, and so if you lay out as a referee, this is what we're going to do for the meet, I think we're perfectly fine.
Hold on.
He wants to know what I'd say. Who knows?
Just state what you say to your coach Schultz when it comes to the subject of jurisdiction. What do you say before the meet to those other officials?
Okay. Well, if you look at these bullets, I pretty well follow that. I say, okay, and you have turn-in lanes 1 through 3. I'd like you to go down and cover the 15-meter mark, and then after the last head comes up, come around in position behind the block or behind the bulkhead, if it's a bulkhead, behind the lanes, and then do their officiating from there. What I normally tell them, especially at turn in, if on the very first length you don't have time to get all the way around on the bulkhead, I'm not a monster, it's okay. I don't want them falling in the pool or running. But sometimes on some pools, they'll just be able to get down to the corner for the first turn, which would be okay, but not ideal, but okay. So it really depends when the last head comes up in your jurisdiction.
What really I was poking at was if you see a call that's outside of your jurisdiction, you don't make that call. Correct?
Correct.
And you, as the referee, are informed of calls by the officials, correct?
That is correct.
And you, as the referee, can, if you observe something anywhere in the pool that is illegal, that you may call that as the referee.
Absolutely.
That's just one. Sometimes I've seen other officials, hey, you missed this call over in lane whatever that is outside of their jurisdiction. And I've always stated it's outside your jurisdiction, it's not your call.
Yep.
I think the rule book addresses that. If the referee sees it, they can call.
I didn't hear you.
The rule book addresses that situation that if you have jurisdiction, but you see it outside of the referees, but you see it and they don't call it, that you should call it.
Yeah, the referee sees it, great. It's a good reminder, refs, to be watching the whole pool. Hint, hint. State meet. So, state meet is a little different format. They're all at VMAC. The 4A prelims and diving will happen on Wednesday, the 5th of February. So it's a week earlier than it used to be run, which worked out great last year. And then the finals won't be until Saturday, 8:30 in the morning. 5A, they're going Thursday and Saturday. And then 3A is going Friday and Saturday. So clear your calendars appropriately, because when we're making assignments for the state meet, we would like the same crew to do diving, prelims, and finals. And so if you can arrange your work schedules or your babysitting, in my case. No diving Saturday, only swimming finals. So we're trying to, as best we can, get the same crew for all the 4A events, 5A events, 3A events. That's our main goal. So please look at your calendars and start begging your boss, if you would. Not my favorite subject is officials' fees, and that's because I think, why are they paying us for doing what this is the most fun thing in the world? But there's the fee schedule, and I think the only change I think was to the what happens after 3 hours on an invite was a little bit higher this time, but I think everything else is the same. Go to the bulletin for better information about this, but I just wanted to let you know that there's not a major change, but some changes this year.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that. One thing I want to mention on the fees is the fact that Mike Book, who is our commissioner, went through great lengths in passing a matrix that we are on, that we are guaranteed an increase after so many years. So we no longer have to fight for any more money, I believe, and in comparing this to other sports, swimming is very well paid. And you can find all this information along with the state meet, and the bulletin is posted on CHSSA, and I think the update should be done by October, correct, Bill?
Yeah, if you go to CHSSA now, and if you go to activities and winter and girls swimming, there'll be at near the top of the screen something that says bulletin, and you can get that there.
Yeah, and then I think it may not be updated yet, but it will be, along with our directory, was usually posted there as well.
Yeah. When you signed in, if there was a yellow box on the sign-in sheet, that means there's something that's not filled out in your arbiter. And depending what that is, it's just a pain in the butt. You might not get notified on things if you don't have your area number. So if you have a yellow box by your list, go into Arbiter and fill that out. If you have a question about how do I do that, let me know. Let your director know. They know how to do it. Testing. Our annual book review time is coming up soon. So this is to refresh your knowledge of the book, and this is really the main reason to do that. And it's tough to make calls if you haven't looked at a rule book in a couple of years. So we want to get everybody in there. I had help. Courtney helped me make it really hard. So you're going to need your book. No. Should be a good test. It'll be online again in Arbiter, just like always. It's 50 questions. It's open book for you returning officials. Our new people are saying, why not us? Why not us? So the new people have another test. So anything that they'd have to memorize, like the dive table, isn't going to be tested.
The reason that they allow us older guys to take an open book test is because we aren't younger, like the new officials who can remember things so much better than we can.
Little CRS problem. So, again, passing score is 80%. Again, you get 3 attempts to achieve your 100% score. So, I'm fairly certain that the test won't lock you out after your first attempt over 80. This year. They have a new process, so results may vary on that. We'll see how that goes. And we'll see really soon, because on the 16th, which is 2 days from now, it's going live, and it will stay live until the 6th of October. So I think that's 3 weeks. Pretty sure. Again, when you're going in, go to 103.372 when you're going into Arbiter, which is not where we normally log into, and then go to Central Hub, and then click on the testing tab, and there'll be a list of active tests, and you should find it near the top. If it's not near the top, look and find it. I'll check it right away, and if there's any problems, I'll try to let everybody know. But I'm not expecting any problems, because I had Monica and Chris helped do a lot of error checking for it. So we've got 4 brains working on it. It might be the best test ever. You won't find out till you do it. No? Okay.
Word of advice, don't wait till the last day. We seem to have this conversation with this person every year.
For some of you, your test has to be done by Halloween. Okay. Yeah, don't wait till the last second. No one ever got their best score when they're doing it the last second. One thing that I was recommended, and I think it's a great process, so you get 3 attempts. Why don't you take it the first time closed book and see where you stand. Why is that? Because when you're on the deck, you don't have your book open, do you? So it would be reasonable to expect that you should be able to get 80% or higher. I hope. That would be cool. So try that, and then for your second and third tries, you can open the book and make sure you're looking up, find the place in the book that has that answer that you so need. That's how I actually got to know the rules book. So, plus Jim hammering me all the time, but that's a whole other thing. So that's it for me. Any questions before we get into the diving fun?
I have questions today. At the very beginning, you mentioned the meet. At the very beginning, you mentioned the meet administrator. And I remember, past years, we were kind of instructed as referees when we walked in, find out who that is.
Good to know.
But, you know, last year I drew a lot of blank sticks. And, you know, because that does come up on if it's a spectator or something, that's been very rare, right? But if the spectator is causing a problem, or somebody else that's not a competitor or a coach,
Okay.
you know, well, we got to, you know, I think the thing is we stop the meet and the administrator's supposed to go deal with it.
Okay, did y'all hear that? All right. So really good practice to know who the meet administrator is. If you go ask the coach and they don't know, say it's normally the AD, or on a dual meet often it's the coach. But just so you know, because when bad things happen, the more prepared you are, the better you're going to handle it. And that's just part of the preparation that we highly, highly recommend. Cool. Great questions today. All right. Thanks, everybody.